Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by putting you in a very specific headspace. Imagine it's Friday afternoon, or maybe it's a Tuesday morning just before your second cup of coffee. The office is humming along, and then suddenly the vibe
The
changes.
shift. You can feel it in the air.
Exactly. Someone called in sick, or, that there's a family emergency. A massive hole has just opened up in the schedule for the upcoming weekend event. And the
Mhm.
boss is standing there, looking around the room, scanning the faces of the staff.
Uh-huh.
They're looking for a volunteer, but really, let's be honest, they're looking for a victim.
They're looking for the path of least resistance, the person who, for whatever reason, cannot say no.
Today, we are unpacking a story that starts with that exact moment. But this isn't just a rant about overtime or, bad management. We're looking at a piece of source material, a personal narrative from a blog focused on growth mindset that describes a single chaotic weekend.
But calling it chaotic feels like an understatement. It's a story that serves as a perfect case study for the intersection of the gig economy, neurodivergence, and the hidden costs of being the dependable one.
Our protagonist, the author of this piece, is a contractor. He's nearly 50 years old. And crucially for our analysis today, he was diagnosed later in life with both ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ASD, autism spectrum disorder.
And that context is the key that unlocks this entire deep dive. It really is. Because without it, this is just a story about a guy having a bad day at work. With it, it becomes a story about navigating a world built on invisible social rules, vague instructions, and sensory minefields, all while trying to keep your job and be a good father.
We're calling this deep dive the invisible work. We're going to break down the economics of why he took this job, the absolute logistical nightmare of executing it, and the emotional fallout that happened when his way of processing the world collided with someone else's.
And we have a lot to cover. We need to talk about the double empathy problem, the concept of asynchronous development in children, and the crushing weight of what the source calls accumulated distortion in the workplace.
Let's jump right in. The favor. The source material opens with this request to cover a weekend event because a staff member dropped out. Now, usually in a modern office, if you ask a full-time employee to work a weekend last minute, what happens?
In the current climate, they say no,
Oh.
and they're almost applauded for it.
Yeah.
The author actually notes this cultural shift. He observes that full-time, regular employees have become very good at protecting their private time.
Right. The magic words, I have plans.
I have plans, I have family commitments. It's a boundary. It's seen as healthy.
And that's a good thing, right? I mean, we talk about work-life balance all the time on this show. It's a positive development.
It is a good thing for them, for
Yeah.
the regular employees. But here's the paradox the author highlights. The work doesn't vanish just because the employees have healthy boundaries.
It doesn't just go away.
No.
Yeah.
The event still has to happen. The booth at the convention still needs a body standing in it.
So the boundary of the privileged employee becomes the burden of the contractor.
Precisely. It flows downhill. The author is in a position of business entrustment.
Okay, I want to pause on that term because it sounds very much like corporate jargon. Business entrustment. What does that actually mean for him on the ground?
In this context, it's likely referring to a specific Japanese employment categorization, Jumutaku, or a similar freelance contract structure. It means he's not an employee, he's an external entity, a vendor. He mentions he chose this path specifically because the rigid rules of regular employment, the face time, the office politics, the sensory overload of a fluorescent-lit office, they just don't fit his developmental characteristics.
He needs autonomy to function.
He needs it. So he trades the security of a full-time job for freedom. He gets to control his environment, mostly.
That freedom comes with a trapdoor. He calls it the asymmetry of obligation.
That's a great phrase, isn't it? When the staff member drops out, the company leans on him not as a vendor, but as a team member. They leverage that history. They rely on his old relationship with the client.
It's emotional blackmail, basically. We're a family here until it's time to talk about benefits.
That's a perfect way to put it.
But does he get paid like a vendor? If I call a plumber on a Saturday, I'm paying emergency rates. I'm paying time and a half, at least.
And that is the absolute crux of the issue.
Yeah.
He points out the financial disparity explicitly. If a regular employee caved and took this shift, they would get holiday pay, or at the very least, they would get compensatory time off a comp day next week. There's a system, a formal structure, that quantifies and compensates their sacrifice.
And for him, the contractor.
He accepts the work under the same terms as an employee, which means he doesn't bill extra hours for it, But because he's a contractor, he doesn't get the overtime pay or the calm time.
So,
He gets zero. He gets to keep his good relationship with the client. That's his compensation.
wait, play that back for me. He is doing the work of an employee, which saves the company money and fills a hole in their schedule. But he has the insecurity of a contractor, which means he feels like he can't say no.
Exactly. He's completely trapped. He feels he can't say no because of that old relationship. He's trapped by a sense of social debt, of obligation. He describes driving to the event with this mix of resignation and almost cold logic. He thinks it can't be helped. Someone has to fill the hole.
He's rationalizing being taken advantage of.
He's trying to find a way to make it make sense, to not feel like a victim.
And that is what he calls accumulated distortion, isn't it? Can you unpack that idea a bit more?
Yes. It's such a powerful visual. Think of a building like a structure with pillars. If one pillar refuses to hold weight because it has boundaries, the weight has to shift to the next pillar over. If that second pillar is also structurally weak, or in this case financially vulnerable and socially obligated, it starts to bend. It starts to warp. That warping is the distortion. Over time, with every favor, every last-minute call, the distortion accumulates. He is absorbing the dysfunction of the entire department.
And it's not just a professional distortion. It's not just about his work life. It immediately bleeds into his personal life. Because he isn't just a worker drone they can activate on a Saturday. He's a dad.
And this is where we really need to get into the nitty-gritty of the logistics. Because I think a lot of people hear contractor covers his shift, and they think, okay, he drives to the venue, does the work, drives home.
Yeah.
Annoying, but manageable.
But the reality described in the source material is it's a military operation.
A failed military operation, maybe. First, his wife works nights, so she's essentially unreachable.
Okay, so he's on his own.
Completely on his own. And she needs the family car for her shift.
Yeah.
So he is solo parenting, a second grader and a preschooler. He can't leave them home alone for a weekend event, obviously.
Right, so he has to get them somewhere safe. He has to get them to the grandparents' house.
Correct, but without the car.
Oh, no. So we are talking about public transit.
We are talking about a 1-hour journey, one way, involving 3 distinct train transfers.
3, with a second grader and a preschooler.
3.
I want everyone listening to just visualize this. You have a preschooler. If you've ever met a preschooler, you know they are basically a chaotic biological weapon. They have no impulse control. You have a second grader who is probably bored and complaining. You have overnight luggage bedding, pajamas, clothes, maybe a favorite stuffed animal you can't forget. And you have to get on a crowded train, get off, navigate a busy station, find the next platform, wait, get on another train 3 times.
And remember, the author has ASD. We absolutely need to talk about the sensory load here. It's not just an inconvenience for him.
Break that down for us. What does a train station feel like in this specific context?
Well, for a neurotypical brain, a busy station's annoying, right? It's loud, it's crowded. But your brain does a pretty good job of filtering out the noise. You focus on the departure board. You tune out the conversations around you. For a neurodivergent brain, specifically one sensitive to sensory processing, that filter might not exist, or might be faulty. The screech of the train brakes, the static of the public address announcements, the visual clutter of the advertisements, the feeling of the crowd jostling you, it can all feel physically painful. It's an assault on the senses.
It's not just noise, it's data that his brain can't stop processing.
Exactly. And every bit of that data drains the battery. We talk about executive function depletion.
Right, the brain's management system.
Your brain's CEO, basically. It handles planning, organizing, regulating your emotions, task switching. Navigating that commute with 2 young children is a high-wire act of executive function. By the time he even arrives at the venue to start his unpaid work, he has likely expended more mental energy than most people do in an entire week.
He's already exhausted. The workday hasn't even begun.
He's running on fumes.
And then he gets to the event. He finally drops the kids off. He makes his way to the convention center. He finds the booth. And what does he see?
He sees the regulars, the full-time employees, the very same ones who couldn't possibly cover the shift because they had plans.
But they show up.
3 of them drop by, just to show their face.
This drives me crazy. This is the part of the story that just makes my blood boil. If you have time to drop by and chat for an hour, why couldn't you take a 4-hour shift? Why couldn't you split the day?
It's performative work. It's the culture of presence. In many corporate cultures, being seen at the important event is more valuable than actually doing the labor of the event. The author notes the deep irony here. He says these employees actually know the brand better than he does. They know the regular customers. They would be objectively better at the job.
But instead, they wave hello, maybe grab a free coffee from the booth next door, and leave the substitute, our exhausted, unpaid, neurodivergent contractor, to manage relationships he doesn't fully understand.
It creates this profound sense of isolation. He is the help. He is the invisible labor that allows them to maintain their healthy boundaries and their corporate disability at the same time.
He's the scaffolding that holds up their perfect work-life balance.
Beautifully put, yes.
And this isolation, this feeling of being an outsider, it leads us directly to the incident, the conflict that really defines the entire day, the vague handover.
Right. Before the regulars left, or whoever gave him the instructions for the day, they gave him a specific order regarding the cleanup at the end. Return the unsold items and the promotional tote bags to the company.
Okay. On the surface, that sounds simple enough. Pack up the leftovers. Bring back the stuff.
To a neurotypical brain, that instruction has a certain amount of nuance baked in. You might look at this situation and think, okay, bring back the valuable merchandise, the stuff we can sell later, but the cheap promotional tote bags. If it's awkward to get them back, if the other vendor wants them, maybe let it slide.
You use your judgment, context clues, reading the room.
Exactly. But for someone with ASD, instructions are often processed literally. We call this systemizing. The rule is the rule. The procedure is the procedure. A leads to B. Return the bags is not a suggestion. It is a condition of completing the job correctly.
He's not trying to be difficult. He's not trying to be a job's worth. He's trying to be a good employee. He wants to execute the program correctly so he doesn't get in trouble.
Which brings us to the booth at the end of the day. He's sharing a space with a vendor from a liquor store. At 6 p.m., the event is over, they're packing up, and the author goes over to ask for the promotional bags back.
And the vendor just explodes.
The reaction is visceral, it's immediate. The vendor says, and I'm quoting here, "You give them to us for promotion, but want the leftovers back. That's cheap."
Okay, let's play devil's advocate here for a second.
Well,
The vendor kind of has a point, doesn't he? In the world of business relationships, once you give someone swag, you don't ask for it back. It looks petty. It looks cheap.
oh, absolutely. The vendor is operating on what we might call social honor logic.
Mhm.
His thinking is, we paid to stock your goods. We're partners in this. These bags are a courtesy. Asking for them back implies you don't trust us or that you're pinching pennies. It's a personal insult to the relationship.
So we have a total clash of operating systems. The author is running systemizing.exe, follow the rule, and the vendor is running socialnorms.exe, protect the relationship.
And this is a perfect textbook example of what researchers in the autism field now call the double empathy problem.
I've heard of this. Unpack it for us. What does it mean?
Traditionally, the old, outdated model said that autistic people lack empathy, that they can't understand the feelings and perspectives of others. But the double empathy problem reframes it. It suggests it's a two-way street, a mutual incomprehension. The autistic person struggles to understand the unwritten neurotypical social cues. But the neurotypical person also completely fails to understand the autistic person's rigorous honesty, their adherence to rules, and their direct communication style. They misinterpret it as rudeness or malice.
So it's a communication breakdown on both sides. Neither person has empathy for the other's position because their worlds are built on different assumptions.
Exactly. The author tries to de-escalate. He tries to apologize. He says, "I didn't mean it that way, I'm sorry." But then he keeps asking for the bags. He says, "I understand, but I was told to bring them back. I can't leave with the bags in this state."
Because in his mind, the apology handles the emotional part of the conflict, but the instruction remains unfinished. He has to complete the task.
Right. But the vendor doesn't hear that. The vendor hears, "I don't care about your feelings of being insulted. I care about these cheap plastic bags more than our business relationship." The persistence, which the author thinks is him being responsible, is read by the vendor as pure disrespect, as deliberate escalation.
And that's when the vendor says something just brutal. He says, "It's not about the bags anymore. Your presence makes me sick."
Your presence makes me sick. Just let that sink in. Imagine hearing that. You are bone tired. You are not being paid for this day. You're trying to follow the rules so you don't lose a client.
Yep.
And now you're being told that your very existence, your physical presence in this space is nauseating to another human being.
That cuts deep. It's the ultimate nightmare of feeling othered, of that horrifying realization that no matter how hard you try to follow the steps to get it right, you are fundamentally dancing to a different song than everyone else in the room.
It confirms his deepest fears about his own inability to navigate the social world.
So the vendor then, what, just throws the bags at him?
Pretty much, he
Yeah.
forcibly returns the bags and essentially kicks him out. Just take them. Get out. We need to finish cleaning up.
So he leaves. He has the tote bags. He technically followed the rule, but he lost his dignity in the process.
He's been completely humiliated, and the day is only half over.
Right. It's easy to forget that. This isn't the end. Now we have commute part 2, the reckoning. It's 6:00 p.m. He has to do the whole 3-train circus in reverse.
But it's worse, because now he has to go out of his way to pick up the kids from the grandparents' house first. So just map it out. He has to take a train to his parents' town, which is an hour away. Then he has to walk from the station to their house. Then he has to wrangle the kids, who are probably settled in and don't want to leave, gather up all the luggage again, walk back to the station, then take another hour-long train journey home, then walk home from his own station.
And he mentions in the source that he knows the kids will be asleep by the time he gets there.
This is the detail that it hurts my back just thinking about it. At every transfer point, he has to wake up sleeping children. Have you ever tried to move a sleeping preschooler from a warm train seat out onto a cold, loud platform? It's like trying to move a sack of wet cement that screams at you.
And he has to do that 3 times while carrying bags, while his own brain is probably screaming from the earlier confrontation and the sensory overload.
It's just layer upon layer of stress. But then, a lifeline appears, or so it seems.
He gets to his parents' house, and his older brother is there.
The brother, the success story, the one who has it all figured out.
And the brother has a car, not just any car.
A luxury car. The source specifically makes a point of mentioning the leather upholstery. And the mother, the grandmother, has arranged for the brother to drive the author and the kids home.
This is the Deus Ex Machina. This is the cavalry arriving, the hero moment. No more trains, no more transfers. Just a smooth, quiet ride home in a comfortable car. The day is saved.
But there are conditions. There are always conditions with people like this, aren't there? The brother looks at his nieces, these tired, travel-worn, exhausted little kids, and he lays down the law. Rule number 1, wash your hands before getting in.
Okay, that's a little strict, maybe, but I can see it. Maybe he's a germaphobe. It's his nice car.
And then rule number 2, absolutely no Jaggerico allowed in the car.
Jaggerico, for people who don't know, those are those little crunchy potato sticks in a cup.
The ultimate kid snack. The go-to bribe for tired parents everywhere. Yes, they are crunchy. Yes, they make crumbs. But banning a specific snack by name before you even offer a ride to your stranded family members, it tells you everything you need to know about the brother's priorities.
It's car over kin. The pristine interior of the car is more important than the comfort of his nieces and his exhausted brother.
It's about control. It's a pristine, controlled environment. The brother represents a world where everything is in its proper place. A world that has no room for the messiness of children or the messiness of his brother's life.
So the stage is set for this incredibly tense family moment. You have the author, who has just been emotionally beaten down by the vendor. You have the brother guarding his leather seats like a dragon. And you have the eldest daughter. She's nearly in 3rd grade, and she's watching all of this.
She's watching this dynamic. She's absorbing the tension in the room. And she does something that completely changes the entire trajectory of the story. She leans over and whispers to her father,
I want to walk.
I want to walk. Just think about that choice for a second. This isn't just a casual preference. She knows what walking means. She knows it means the cold, the dark, the 3 trains, the transfers, being woken up. She knows it means physical exhaustion and discomfort.
But she chooses it anyway.
She chooses physical hardship over emotional scrutiny. She decides that being cold is better than being judged. She intuits that she can't handle the pressure of being perfect for the next hour in her uncle's car.
That just breaks my heart. A child who's not even 9 years old making a complex trauma response calculation like that.
The author, he asks her to clarify, you mean take the train? She just nods. And the author, and I absolutely love this moment of parenting, he doesn't argue. He doesn't say, don't be silly, it's so much easier to get in the car. He respects her agency. He trusts her instincts. He turns to his brother and declines the ride.
And how does the brother react? Does he say, oh, come on, don't worry about the snacks, I'll relax the rule?
No, not at all. He stands up immediately. He says, okay, I'm leaving then. I was only waiting to drive you. No negotiation, no warmth, just a transaction that has now been canceled.
Wow.
And he leaves, but not before delivering a parting shot. A final little piece of judgment.
What does he say?
He looks at his niece, the one who just chose to walk home in the dark for an extra 2 hours rather than sit with him, and he says, You're almost a third grader. You need to learn to read the room. You need to learn to read the atmosphere.
Read the atmosphere. Kuki wo yomu.
Exactly. In Japanese culture and many other cultures, this concept is massive. It means sensing the unspoken vibes, fitting in, anticipating the needs of the group, not causing trouble. He is telling this exhausted child that her own emotional discomfort is a social failure. He is telling her that she is failing at being a person because she can't suppress her nature to protect his leather seats.
He's basically telling her to perform neurotypicality for his convenience.
That's precisely what he's doing. And once he's gone, the dam breaks.
The daughter just falls apart.
She starts to cry. The younger sister notices first, in that way little siblings do, and says, "Big sister is crying."
And this leads us to what I think is the most profound section of this entire deep dive. We're calling this the mirror, because the father knows exactly why she is crying. This isn't just a tantrum.
He recognizes the pain on a cellular level. He says it is the pain of not being understood. It's the exact same pain he endured for 49 years before his diagnosis. The pain of constantly trying so hard to read the atmosphere and constantly getting it wrong and being punished for it.
And the daughter, she actually explains herself through her tears. She says, "It's too strict, having to wash hands and clean shoes just to get in a car." But then she says something that just stopped me in my tracks when I read it in the source.
Oh, I know the line you mean. It's incredible.
She says, "Just because I'm almost a third grader, some people have a body of a third grader, but a brain of a second grader. I can't do so many things at once."
Body of a third grader, brain of a second grader. That level of self-awareness in a child that young is it's staggering. She's diagnosing herself in real time.
She's articulating a very complex concept, isn't she?
She is articulating the concept of asynchronous development, and she's doing it more clearly than many textbooks I've read.
What is that exactly for our listeners?
It's a phenomenon that's very common in neurodivergent kids, especially those who are gifted, or what we call twice exceptional. Their intellectual or verbal abilities might be way ahead of their chronological age, but their emotional regulation, or their motor skills, or their executive function might be a few years behind. She's literally saying, "I look like a big kid and you expect me to act like one, but my internal processing power isn't there yet. I can't process the social pressure from my uncle, the sensory restriction of his rules, and the physical fatigue of the day all at the same time. My circuits are overloaded."
She is begging for grace. She is saying, "Please see me for who I actually am, not who you think I should be based on my height."
And her father sees her. In that moment, he sees her completely. And he realizes with this kind of heavy clarity that he has passed this down to her. He calls it a phenotypic trait of developmental disability. He sees the inheritance.
That has to be a very heavy moment for a parent. Do you think there's guilt there?
Yeah, maybe a little guilt, sure. But I think it's overwhelmed by a sense of deep, profound solidarity. He's not just her father. He's her comrade. He knows what the invisible disability feels like. To the brother, she's just a bratty kid who won't wash her hands. But to her father, she is a warrior fighting a silent battle against her own nervous system, and she just lost a skirmish.
And he's the only one in the world who understands the battle.
He's the only one. So they choose the hard road. They go back to the station.
Which brings us to section 7, the final mile. They actually do the train ride. They get back to their home station. It is late. It is dark. And of course, because the universe has a wickedly dark sense of humor, there are no taxis available.
Not a single one in sight.
So they walk. He describes carrying all the heavy luggage himself, and the kids are in that state of overtired mania. You know, that last burst of energy before they collapse? They're running ahead, then stopping, then shouting for his attention.
He's got to be physically done. He's been on his feet all day. He's been yelled at. He's been judged by his own family. He's been through multiple sensory nightmares. He must be at the absolute end of his rope.
But he keeps walking. They finally get home. They get inside, pajamas on, and you'd think, okay, finally, collapse on the bed, scene over, credits roll.
But the work isn't done. The invisible work is never done.
No, it is now 11:00 p.m., but he goes into the kitchen to wash rice. He has to make a bento, a lunchbox for his younger daughter for the next day.
This detail just kills me, the sheer grinding reality of it. Standing in the kitchen at nearly midnight, after a day like that, carefully packing a lunchbox.
It's the ultimate reality of being a working parent, isn't it? The world doesn't stop because you had a bad day. The angry vendor doesn't matter to the hungry preschooler who needs her lunch tomorrow. The judgmental brother doesn't pack the bento.
He does. And the kids, they won't go to sleep until he's done. They wait for him on the couch.
They're clinging to him. They're co-regulating. They need his presence to feel safe enough to finally power down.
He's their anchor in the storm that was this day.
So how does this all finally end? Does he quit his job? Does he scream into a pillow? Does he finally break down?
No. The ending is surprisingly quiet and, I think, incredibly beautiful. He finishes the bento, he takes them upstairs to bed, but the eldest daughter, the one who refused the car, has a panic attack before bed. She just starts crying hysterically.
The aftershock, all the stress of the day finally coming out.
Exactly. She held it together for the walk, for the train, but now she's in her safe space with her safe person, and all the emotions explode. And the father just holds her. And he says something to her that I think we should all, tattoo on our brains.
He says, "It's okay. You can throw your emotions at Papa. I'm going to live to be 100, so don't worry."
You can throw your emotions at Papa.
That is just so beautiful. It's the opposite of read the atmosphere.
It is the ultimate act of emotional containment. He is saying, I am big enough and strong enough to hold all of your chaos. The world might yell at you, the vendor might hate you, your uncle might judge you, but here, in this space with me, you can be messy, you can be broken, you can be scared. I've got you, I can take it.
And he mentions in the source that holding his children, feeling their warmth, it blows away the negative energy of the day.
For him, that is the resolution. The angry client doesn't matter. The judgmental brother doesn't matter. He's home. He's safe. His kids are safe. And that brings us to the final takeaway of this whole deep dive. The blog where this was posted is called Growth Mindset.
Which usually means, how to hustle harder, how to optimize your workflow for maximum productivity, corporate buzzwords.
Right. It's usually about professional development in a capitalist framework. But here, he completely reclaims it. Growth mindset isn't about becoming a better, more flexible employee for the company that exploits you. It's about the emotional and psychological growth required to accept oneself and to accept one's family exactly as they are. It's about growing big enough to say, my daughter's emotional comfort is more important than my brother's luxury car.
It's about growing into the kind of parent who can say, throw your emotions at me, instead of the kind of person who says, you need to learn to read the atmosphere.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's a powerful reminder that when we see a difficult person, like the guy who seems to be arguing over something as silly as tote bags, or when we see a messy family dragging luggage down the street late at night, we are almost never seeing the whole story. We're just seeing the surface of a very deep ocean of invisible work, of neurodiversity, of fatigue, and ultimately of the love that's holding it all together.
Well, I think that is a powerful and perfect place to leave it to you, our listener. The next time you feel that immense pressure to read the air, maybe take a breath and ask yourself whose air you're reading and why. And if you're the one holding the bag, literally or metaphorically, know that you're not alone and that getting home is a victory in itself.
Well said.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.